When you set up VPC Flow Logs, or VPC Flow Log collection, it's really common to actually send them to S3. That's pretty much the universal place to send them. They can also be sent to things like SQS and SNS and whatever else, but the basic integration is to S3, and that integration works beautifully with Coralogix. Actually, SNS and SQS as well will also work fine with Coralogix as well, specifically for VPC Flow Logs. So we see an example here where I have an S3 bucket, DRG VPC Voint test, and I've started pushing VPC flow logs to it, and they're regularly arriving now. So I can take this S3 bucket name here and go to my integration, and I have an AWS VPC flow via S3. If I go back to integrations for a moment and I actually just look for flow, I can see multiple different options here for SNS and SQS as well. But they all use the same mechanism, which is the AWS Lambda function or the Coralogix Lambda function. So I add new, it's already populated an API key for me, which is nice. And if it doesn't do that, you can just create a new key. But it's kind of up to you. And then an S3 bucket. So I'm just going to paste that S3 bucket name in there. It's already populated the region, which is handy for me. And if I go back, I can see that, it's actually global, so it's no big deal anyway. But the VPC is actually held in the Europe region, so it's all good. And you'll notice a bunch of extra configuration options here, Lambda configuration settings. You can also set it to not read from a different path if you've configured it, but as you can see, AWS logs matches the route here. This is the default. So if you don't change anything when you're pushing your logs into S3, then the chances are all the defaults here are going to work just fine. Same with VPC configuration and Lambda configuration. You can change memory and that kind of thing. But we've got everything we need here to actually get going. So we click next. It will automatically bring up this preview of what to expect. I click create CloudFormation. It will take me to Amazon S3 with a pre-populated CloudFormation stack that contains things like the domain, whether the API key should be stored in Secrets Manager. Hint, it should, definitely. And you'll notice that was a tick box option actually. So always have that checked for sure. And then we have the S3 configuration, any Kafka and MSK configuration, and so on. We can skip all that. We don't have to worry about any of it. We just have to acknowledge that it's going to create some IAM roles, and it's going to create some infrastructure in our name actually as well. So I'll create the stack. Now I've created the stack, this is actually going to create the resources necessary to consume any new logs that arrive in the S3 bucket will automatically be ingested into Coralogix, and you are now observing VPC flow activity. Note a few things. When you define this, you set the subsystem name and the application name. So in this case, it'll come through as AWS and AWS VPC Flow Logs. That's pretty descriptive. I'm quite happy with that. But make sure you set that to something that you'll know instinctively to make it easy to work with. We can see the creators in progress here. Obviously, Coralogix has no control over how fast these resources are created. That's 100% down to Amazon and how fast they're actually creating this infrastructure. But sure enough, it won't take very long at all just to define a Lambda function and create all the wiring between them all. So that's it. This is really simple, really easy. I think like 2-3 clicks and you have VPC Flow Logs in Coralogix.